What's up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast. So dedicated to talking about all the progress things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I'm one of your co-hosts, JesseKazam.
And I am a kitty cat.
I'm a kitty cat. Oh, that's funny because like my youngest son, I hear the words "I'm a kitty" 78 times a day. It's like he's a cat, so it's just like funny. Like if I showed him, I actually should show him footage of you playing that game. He would lose his mind.
I spent I just started, for context, I just started playing Stray like an hour ago. And I spent most of the time making biscuits on the carpet and meowing at the other cats and
just like real cat RP stuff.
I mean, genuinely, dude, they captured cat behavior like you would never fucking believe. Like
that's funny.
Like just how they like go up to things and kind of go like when they don't know what it is. It's like, oh fuck. And the way that they get like startled, and at one point that you saw there's that little kind of sweater backpack thing. And have you ever seen the videos of the cats with like tape on them?
Mm-mm.
So like if you put like just a strip of tape, like even just like packing tape, obviously that would be cruel. Like on their back, they'll just stick to the floor and like crawl. If you put it on their belly, they're like
really?
Like if you put it on the side, they just walk sideways. It's like fucking cat.exe stopped working.
It's like it just messes with their equilibrium or something.
Yeah, I don't know. But so when they put this thing on the cat for like 40 seconds, you're just like crawling on your stomach.
That's actually crazy. How many cats were like mocapped in the I want to like behind the scenes of Stray. That's actually crazy.
As far as I can tell, just my cat, because it's exactly what Susie, everything this cat's doing is.
That's wild.
So
that's why Veritas is a kitty.
Yep. Yeah. Disregard the cat ears.
Yeah, they're coming in the mail.
Yeah.
Yes,
indeed.
dude. From top V to V.
Top C.
Top C. I was trying to I was gonna say V line, like feline, but V line has like other connotations, I think.
I'm a scat man.
I'm a scat man. Meowie meowie. I'm gonna stop before.
Yeah, before something ends up on TikTok viral. You're scratching somebody's itch.
Yeah. Oh man.
So what you been up to, bud?
Not a whole lot. Playing Tarkov this past week. I was in Twitch Rivals yesterday for Arena.
Okay.
Every single time I play in a Twitch Rivals, I say this is the last time. And then one comes around and I get invited. You know what it is, man? I can't help wanting to just like play with the homies. Like Vel was like, yo, you, me, Hambino, Sequisha, and we're getting a fifth. And it ended up being Apollo, who was like, I'd never heard of before, but he was like super chill and like really good at Arena. He was our top fragger. And like, that's always what entices me. I'm like, yeah, let's do it, man. Like, let's game with the boys. And then I immediately regretted it, bro. I've been telling you about how like I've actually been having a good time playing Arena recently. Like a lot of the issues are there, but they're adding more layers of frosting, and it's, even though the core is still busted, it's becoming at least more and more bearable. That melts away in the light of competition. You know what I mean? Because like it just like trying to make we saw this with Tarkov, right? Where like Sigma made Evasion, and then there was Hunt. And anytime you add competition, it just adds pressure to the game, which means the weak points will be exposed even quicker. And like a lot of the map design issues, a lot of the like, there are a lot of maps where I had heard from a lot of the community like that play Arena a lot. They're like, man, this map is really imbalanced. There's a good side to spawn on and a bad side to spawn on. And I hadn't really noticed until we played against, like, it was Summit, Hutch, Trade 24K, maybe Landmark and like someone else. It was like God Squad, right? And they got the good spawn and we got the bad spawn. Now, hear me when I say this. This isn't cope. I believe we were losing either way, right? Sequisha hadn't played in a while. Me and Ham and Velian don't play a lot of arena. Like, I was not going into this. But basically, 38 seconds into the round, they had us spawn locked, where we would just spawn in the sight of one of them. And it was like...
Oh, yeah. So wait, what game mode was...
So we actually, for the first round, we actually played Checkpoint, which is my current favorite game, which is basically domination. There's 3 zones. You hold the zones, right? And when you get the points. But they basically had a spawn locked, and that it really started to click where I was like, oh, I see what you mean when you say there's like, because even if we were able to break through, the way the lanes and the angles work, there you can't really do that to the other spawn. It's just like different. And so I was like, so like that, I was like, okay, that now, you know, I don't mind losing, but I want to lose like moving around the map, dying, right? Not just like spawn, die, spawn, die, spawn, die, spawn, die. Like that's not fun. You know what I mean? So there was like areas like that where it just, it applies pressure to the game that just kind of further exposes its flaws. But I go into that stuff just like down to have a good time, right? Like I didn't expect, I think there was a 4-way tie for 5th.
Keep talking.
Is the way the tournament went down. So it was whatever. We did some checkpoint, then we did a best of 3 and we won 2 of the 3. And then we did a blast gang and we got almost shut out. It was like 9-2. And, you know, that was just, I'm just not, the competitive life is not for me, right? You know what I mean? No ill will towards the homies. Literally at the end, like the team we played in our first blast gang match was the team that ended up winning Rivals. And that ended. And I was like, there's no excuse. Like there's nothing to say but GG's. Like, it was blast gang, so you switch sides, so you can't blame, you know, one side or the other. It was like that ended, and I was like, you guys are like just better than us. And GG's, like, in no way was no way was I frustrated. It didn't feel like it was the audio's fault. It was just like you guys are really good, and we're not, and so cool, like GG's. So we just kind of like ended. We were done in like an hour, the whole tourney. But yeah, it is what it is.
I mean, as long as you have fun,
exactly.
Right?
It's like it wasn't that big of a deal at all. It was a good time. But yeah, I've been grinding the battle pass and in Tarkov in arena and then playing some Tarkov. It's been funny. I had like as a part of like the big arena update, they made a lot of the ref quests in Tarkov easier, and I kind of had this aha moment where my big thing, like, because people ask a lot, like, why don't you have Kappa? And so I have that response down pat, which is like, I've gotten it 6 or 7 times. The literal last thing I think that would be fun is doing the same quests I've done again, especially when people are like, why don't you prestige? Like the thought of getting Kappa and then deleting it is like, I'd rather just put my nuts in a blender. But a lot of it has to do with the fact that I've just done it all so many times. Somebody in chat yesterday was like, why don't you get the Theta container? And I was like,
the what?
The Theta container is another secure container that is from Ref. It's another secure container from Ref. Yeah. And I was like, why don't I get it? Because in my head, I was just like, I don't want to do any quests because questing is bad. But then I was like, but I haven't done any of those quests before. So yesterday and today, I was just like powering through all those quests, and I got the Theta container today. And it was actually super fun doing those quests because it was
size
new.
Is it?
So it's 10 cells. So it's 1 bigger than a Gamma and 2 smaller than a Kappa. And the way it's laid out is it used to be before this wipe, the way the Theta was laid out was a 2x2, a 1x2, a 1x2, and a 1x2. So you couldn't put anything in there. And then this wipe, they updated it and they made it the Epsilon, a 4x2 with a separate 2x2. So I put my sick case in the 1x2, and then I have basically a whole Epsilon. And it ends up being 1 extra cell than a Gamma, and it was like fun. It was like, I was like, oh yeah, this is what it feels like to do like quests that are new. And I'm like looking at the wiki and I'm like, oh, I got to go to this map. And it didn't feel gross because I've done it a million times.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a fun side quest that took me like 2 days to like get through all the ref quests and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
Huh. Were the quests okay? Were they fun?
They when they added the Battle Pass patch, they redid them all, every single one, and made them all less ass. So they're actually decent now. Like the one that I was on was get 5 kills on streets wearing a PACA and using an AK-74 UB. And then
I see they haven't changed
but then they made it
Mad Libs.
Yes. But then they made it get 2 PMC kills wearing a PACA. So it could be any gun and it could be anywhere. And I was like, oh, sweet. So I went to factory and got 2 kills with a PACA. And one of the quests was, one of the ones that I'm still on, it's because it's separate from the Theta, was you had to kill, it used to be you had to kill 8 Kallentai or Kaban guards, but you're not allowed to kill Kallentai or Kaban. If you kill them, it resets the quest. And like Kaban will only spawn with like 6 guards. So you have to get them, kill them all, leave Kaban, leave the raid, go back into a raid, hope he spawns again, get 2 more guards, not kill him, leave the raid. But then they made that just kill 2 guards without killing Kallentai or Kaban. So now it's like, oh, as long as you run into them once. So they dialed it they dialed the AIDS way back. So, so it's been, it's actually like, I really don't have a whole lot of like negativity to bring. I completed the entire labyrinth thing. There were 2 achievements, one of which like was much harder than the first one, the second one, and I ended up completing it, which I didn't think I would. I don't really want to, like, I'm only going to play labyrinth if I have homies that want to play it because of everything we talked about last week. It's just like ratty and it's become less and less fun. I got the achievements and so, but nothing really new happening in Tarkov land. Tomorrow, it's going to be bad timing for the podcast, but I don't want the podcast to be a Tarkov podcast anymore, so I don't care to like ask you to move the podcast. But tomorrow they're doing a Tarkov TV, so we'll just talk. If you're listening to this on Monday and wondering why we're not talking about whatever it is they talk about, it's because we recorded it the day before and whatever. But they're doing a Tarkov TV tomorrow, so maybe we'll get some fresh new copium.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get the RPG that was in the trailer for this wipe, the wipe that happened in December.
They'll announce 1.0.
I mean, they could. Or
what did they say? Was it Q2 or Q3? So that infamous tweet. It's
starting to make more sense. The tweet was just Q2 2025. And so now people think that they were either getting ready, referring to the Labyrinth event, because it was like one of the biggest events they've ever done, the Battle Pass, because that's like new, or the fact that Tarkov or that arena came to Epic Games, the Epic Games Store. So basically everybody thinks that no longer was referring to 1.0. Because we're halfway through Q2 2025. Maybe not halfway. January, February, March, April, May, June. No, we're not. We're like almost a third of the way through.
Yeah.
Q2.
Talk about moving the goalposts.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you can literally say anything, right?
Well, that's the beauty of the bait that he did. Was he tweeted that knowing what we think, but in retrospect, he could say it was. He could claim that Q2 is just his favorite quarter of the year. You know what I mean? Like, it was so intentionally vague that he can claim it was anything. Yeah. But he knew how we'd interpret it. You know what I mean? The only other Tarkov thing that's noteworthy is there was a Q&A with a Russian streamer, and it got translated, and they were like, they've gone through waves of this, but he was like 100% Tarkov is coming to Steam when 1.0 releases. And like, this is like Tarkov, not Arena. Like, they're going to put Tarkov on Steam. I don't really know like what the back end of that is or like what that looks like or whatever. The only thing I really know is like that would be an insane boon to the player base because a lot of people kind of only go through Steam. They don't really like download alternative launchers and stuff. So, but yeah, but I
mean, it makes sense. Like, they've been so against it forever, but they're probably at a point where they've saturated the entirety of the player base. So like, even if they have to pay a chunk to Steam,
yes,
it's like, do you make $1 million and then stop, or do you make $1 million and then 50% of $3 million?
Exactly,
you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. It's
whatever.
Like they've saturated. They've wrung out the sponge of PC gamers that are interested in Tarkov, that know of the game and are willing to download an alternative launcher, and so it's like, do they only have maybe another 100,000 potential customers outside of Steam? And then if they're doing the internal calculus on, but do we have 1 million potential additional customers inside of Steam? Well, then that 30% is worth, the cut or whatever. So
yeah.
So that's interesting. Once again, though, 1.0, is that later this year? Is that 6 years from now? Who knows? Is it coming to Steam at launch of 1.0? Is it coming 6 months after 1.0? Is it coming a year after 1.0? Who knows? And I don't really care to speculate, but it was interesting. But yeah, Tarkov's just been Tarkoving. But I can finally, we're a little bit delayed because once again, the NDA lifted on Saturday, but I can finally talk about Marathon, bro. Yes.
Right. Before you start, I have to I have to say like the funniest thing. So, how did this all start? Did you get reached out to by email? Was it like originally an email about like the swag stuff, like the package or what? Like,
oh, well, because I went out
like
there, they talked about how they were going to send everyone the swag packages, but I think they sent those packages out to many more people than the creators that came.
Yeah, because it's so funny, dude. Like, this is the dichotomy of just like being a human as a content creator. Yeah. I all of these things I hold in my head and my heart simultaneously, and none of it makes sense. I had like the FOMO of seeing everyone go out, right? And me being like, oh fuck, like I wasn't invited.
Yeah.
While at the same time saying if I was invited, I wasn't gonna go. Like because like I I've just been taking a break from shooter games.
You're just not in that headspace.
And I don't know if this was like a part of any agreements or whatever, but like kind of similar to the Gray Zone thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to commit to making content about it because I wouldn't. Like, I'm not going to make a video about a shooter game, especially one either in early access, but also just like I'm really not planning on making many more gaming videos, if at all. Unless there's going to be like some deep long form video essay or something on something, but it wouldn't be like a review. And then so I was like disappointed that I didn't get asked. Wouldn't have gone even if I was asked. Am not like super interested personally in playing it myself. And then I ended up searching. I opened up my email because I was like, and then I realized I got like 3 different emails, like in February and March, and I think earlier about like, hey, it was reaching out to me on behalf of Bungie. So like I don't know if this would have led to an invite or if they just wanted to send me one of those packages.
Oh yeah.
But I didn't notice it until like literally 2 months later, just because my inbox, my email, like it's just it's a fucking blighted wasteland of just spam bullshit. So like I don't even check anything anymore. But so I just had to say it's like so funny that I was like, man, I really am disappointed that like, they didn't call me, but like they might have actually like, but at the same time, I also didn't want to fucking go at the first place. You know what I mean? Like,
and then you check your email and you're like, ah, shit, they did.
it's like I feel like I'm back in like fucking high school where it was like, or middle school where it's like the fucking kid I don't like didn't invite me to his party. Like
I get that way all the time with content creation. Like sometimes like 10 people will be doing like a sponsored stream for something. And I'll be like, why didn't I get asked for that sponsor stream? And then I'm like, but I don't like this game at all. And I think I would have said no if I got invited. It's just the weird psychology where it's like, hey, how come you guys are all doing that thing? Yeah. I had like 3.
I want to be able to get asked and then deny them. Basically, that's what I want. Okay,
so I can feel good but not have to do anything.
Yeah,
bro. I've had like 3 people reach out to me and be like, God damn it, the email went to the spam folder and I missed it. And I wanted one of those swag bags. I was like, oh, well, sorry. But yeah, man. So we talked about it we talked about it last week, how the week before I was able to go up. So at that point, I have been up to Seattle 2 times to play test the game. And in between those 2 trips, was able to play a remote play session. So by the time, like, as of now, I've played like 40 hours of Marathon in a couple of different builds. And this time they were filming a lot while we were up there for this reveal event that happened on Saturday. So they did a big reveal event where like they had a bunch of the devs and they did some Q&As and they did a bunch of stuff. And they showed some trailers and announced the release date. It's coming out on September 23rd. Like the 1.0 release is coming out this year on September 23rd. And then a couple other things. I don't know if anyone in your chat has already told you, or me, you maybe have watched it, but you need to watch like the 8-minute cinematic that they made. They showed it at the very end. Basically, did you watch Love, Death, and Robots at all?
Yes.
The like anthology animated where like each episode was like a different animation style and it's a self-contained like 8 to 12 minute story.
Almost like, mini Black Mirror.
Yes. So they worked with like some of the like award-winning directors and animators that worked on Love, Death, and Robots and did like basically imagine that. Imagine like you don't have to know. It's exactly like that in the sense that you're not expected to know anything about anything when you click watch. It like you could just imagine it as an episode of Love, Death, and Robots, but it is one of my. It's really good. Like even it's been the most unifying thing. Even the people online that were like, "This game looks like hot ass," and that might be the coolest 8 minutes of sci-fi I've ever seen in my life. Like it's
so it's a reveal cinematic short that's 8 minutes 43 seconds long.
Yeah. So just like watch that after you need the audio, you need everything. So watch it after the cast. It's good. I mean, it's like for what it is, it's like I thought it was phenomenal. But yeah, man. So Marathon, they did the announcement, and yeah, I mean the TLDR of the game is pretty self-explanatory. Bungie made extraction shooter. Have you seen any of the trailers or any like the art style?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit.
So
of
you
the
can
gameplay.
kind of like get the vibe of the art style and the direction and the graphics, and I am very excited for it. It's been very divisive on the internet as games are these days. It once again, I don't even know where to start because I'm so wrapped up in it. But like I've been there 2 times and like we gave them an insane amount of feedback. Like the experience with the devs was probably like it's so hard because like if I'm talking to you, I know you would just believe me. But if I'm talking to like the audience, like if you're watching this, like you just have to trust me. If you think in your head like the best possible like mental state for the developers to be in if they're inviting people to get feedback, it was that plus more. They were chasing us down with laptops at lunch hour being like, what did you mean by that? I'd never really heard that before, but what do you think about this though? And like asking for feedback. Every single day I was there, I left 3 hours late because they would just like pull me into like a room and they'd be like, hey, do you have time? And I was like, yeah. And they'd have like whiteboards and they would ask questions and like they would push back. Would push back on my feedback. And then I would push back on what I think, like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like they were just saying, oh yes, Mr. Streamer, you know everything. Like they would be like, no, we have it this way. And I'd be like, yeah, but you're not thinking about this. And like, it was the most epic, thing. Everything from their perspective felt super intentional. There wasn't a single question we asked where they were like, I don't know, we just thought that's how we do it. But then we had tons of pushback and tons of feedback. One of the things for me was like the vault space, which is basically your stash space. It was way too small. You could basically fit 2 whole kits and like 3 mats, and then your entire stash was full. And so it's like if you had like 3 deaths, like it was probably 1/8 the size of a standard edition Tarkov stash. Like I cannot explain how small it was. And I gave a ton of feedback on that. And literally before we left, somebody like patted me on the shoulder and was like, the way you put that, I had never thought about it before. This is why we made it small, but what you said made a lot of sense. I'm literally changing that today for the next build. And I was like,
hell yeah.
Oh, that's freaking sick, dude. You know what I mean? So
it seems like it's so much more common whenever these things happen that if people don't care. Like so often the dev teams don't care. They're inviting influencers as marketers, as people to make videos, not to give feedback or to play test or whatever, but like, it sounds like, at least for, I don't know if it was for everyone or if it was for, like a kind of a subset of you guys, that you were almost like, temporarily sort of a part of the development discussion, the dev team, the design.
Yep. Seriously. And literally anybody. It wasn't just that they were taking advice from the Tarkov people. There were Valorant people there. There were Apex people there. There were Halo people there. There were Destiny people there. And anybody that wanted to stay late or have additional conversations, they were open with. A lot of the Tarkov people that were there were just like giga invested. And so we were the ones staying late. But like, I was talking with like senior producers, game designers, game leads. At one point I was talking to the president of Bungie. Like, it was just like everybody was there, and it just felt so collaborative, and it felt like they were so committed to making a good game. And so I recognize that there's 0% chance I can walk away from that experience, that truly fulfilling, collaborative, fun experience, and walk into the gameplay reveal unbiased, right? Like, I understand and can recognize I've got a bias towards the game. I was given an amazing opportunity that, of course, I was going to take. Who wouldn't have taken that? Even if you didn't like the game, like, what an amazing opportunity. So I recognize that, and that's why I'm like, I'm not pushing back on anybody individually that's like, bro, I think that game looks dumb. It's like, listen, you might be bringing your bias because, Asmongold told you not to like it or whatever. And I recognize maybe I'm bringing my bias that I got to go there and do all this cool stuff. So it's like, at the end of the day, make your own decision and whatever. But of course, that was just like a really, really cool experience. There are devs working on Marathon that have been at Bungie since like Halo 2.
Damn.
Yeah. So like, there were people that had worked on Destiny before this. There were people that like were instrumental in like Halo 3, which was like my greatest Halo game of all time. Working on Marathon and stuff like that. Like, so it's cool, man. It's cool. But yeah, so I mean, like, you can feel free to ask any questions. I don't even really know where to start about like what the game is. It is like one of the big things is the hero shooter aspect of it. And we were talking about this the other day with Seal on stream, where I was like, I kind of got fried because in my video, I think the line I said was, a lot of people were concerned this was a hero shooter. I don't know that I know what the technical definition of hero shooter is anymore, but yes, this is a game where you like choose a character that has unique abilities. And I was getting fried in the comments because everyone was like, dude, like the fact that he says he doesn't know means he's getting paid by Bungie to like downplay whatever. Because we all know it's a hero shooter. But then every other video I watched, like Skill Up, Gang Rank, Hidden Xperia, Scarrow, all these other guys, all of them in their videos were like, yeah, this isn't a hero shooter, but it's more of like an ability or whatever. And so I was like confused because I was like, that was the thing, is that I said I don't really know what it means. I kind of assumed like a hero shooter is any shooter game where like you're selecting a character that has unique abilities.
Yeah, the character has a proper name, and
which these guys do. But I think the delineation for other people. So I basically went in being like, yes, I think this is a hero shooter. But then other people, the breakdown I'm hearing about is like there's hero shooter and then class-based shooter, and that I thought this was kind of a hero shooter, but it's maybe more of a class-based shooter. And like some people were saying a hero shooter is more like Overwatch, where like the gameplay and the combat are like designed around the ultimate abilities that those Overwatch are like Marvel Rivals, where like the entire like movement of combat is based on that. Whereas it was the same thing in Delta Force. In Delta Force and in Marathon, none of the abilities do damage. They can't like kill you. They're like Void will go invisible, or Black The other one will like scan for people. Glitch gets extra stamina. Those are the like ultimate abilities. Whereas in like Marvel Rivals or Overwatch or something, the ultimate abilities are all about like dealing damage and actually turning the tide of a fight. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like
this is all
people were getting so into like semantics, and I was like, I don't know, man. You pick a character you like and you play it.
Bro, it's not fucking jazz fusion. It's not fucking progressive metal.
Dude.
It's abstract dumpster garbage.
What a
hip-hop.
great analogy to musical genres. That's actually a great analogy, because that is how I feel. When people say, what music are you into these days? I panic because I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm going to say I like rock, and then I'm going to name a band, and you're going to be like, that's not rock, that's jazz fusion. And I'm going to be like, dude, you know what I mean?
It's just like, I mean, I don't know. What's annoying to me about that whole thing is, I mean, this is just like the fucking jaded, annoyed, hate the internet part of me. But it's like, everyone is so cynical in that there's always some hidden ulterior motive.
Yeah.
There's always some agenda. It's like, if I went there, you could go there, have a good time, never have exactly what genre the game was ever really discussed at any point, like not have even the words be spoken, experience the thing, come back and go to make your video and be like, I mean, I don't know what the fuck this is, right? And at no point it was that, like, that's the most real, like, fucking normal human-based thing, is that you weren't like, okay, Bungie, tell me everything I need to know. Give me a fucking fact sheet where I need to get all the things. So I need to make, you know, if you had said, if you and everyone else had said all of the same exact things word for word with some like creepy whatever, then I would be like, they were given some kind of, you know, some kind of like talking points.
Yeah.
But like,
it was weird. And it was weird because also I had no skin in the game. Like, basically what I said was like, I don't know what this is called, but then I was like, but this is what it is. Because there's going to be 6, they're called runners. So I'm just going to start calling them that. 6 runners at launch. We got to play with 4. They are named, and each runner has 4, outside of their looks and aesthetic, 4 things. 2 passive traits, and then 2 abilities. So the one, just to give you an example, the one I played, the one I played was Locust. He was really fun. One of his passives is that, like, if you double tap shift, he's got like a tactical sprint, so he can sprint faster, but your stamina bar depletes twice as fast. But if you need to like close a gap, you can do that. And then what was his other passive? I don't remember. And then his like E was like a riot shield. That the other passive was if you jump and jump again, you get a horizontally based dash. So I can dash forward or I can dash backwards. I can dash side to side, but I can't like double jump. But I can go anywhere horizontally. Okay. Then my E was like a riot shield that I can pull out for a little bit that breaks after a certain amount of damage. And then my ultimate ability.
So is that like if you get caught out in the open and you need to get the cover, you can just like
hit
almost
that.
Have mobile cover?
Yeah, it ended up being way more of like an offensive tool than a defensive tool. I was like, I literally in the feedback.
Like pushing in
in the feedback sessions, I was like, the shield is kind of useless. I feel like it never helps me. And then Dr. Lupo was like, oh, you got to push with that thing out because you can tack sprint with it out. And then that changed everything. So it's like you get a snipe, somebody's low, they get behind cover, you just go and they're like shooting at you, and then they go for a reload and you just rip it out and like boom. And then I was like, I see.
Interesting. Okay.
And then my ultimate ability was basically these little turrets that popped up on my shoulder, but they don't lock on or shoot anybody. You have to do sustained damage to an enemy, and then they'll start shooting. So it's like extra DPS. But it's not just like a button where you press and it kills people. You actually have to shoot at someone and land shots consecutively for them to go. Okay. And then they're all, they all have their own thing. But my take on the hero shooter aspect of it was, I hated it. The first time I went to Bungie, I told them, I was like, I think this is a mistake. But then I played like a lot. I played like 200 hours of Delta Force. You remember I was on that kick back in November, December, and then again when the new season came out in like January. I played like 200 hours of Delta Force, and Delta Force is basically the exact same. where all of the abilities are based on like movement or smokes or utility, and none of them are like the tactical nuke button or anything like that.
Yeah,
and I
okay.
ended up really kind of falling in love with it. And then I went back to Bungie for the second time, and I think I like the hero shooter thing a little bit now. Like, if they said tomorrow we're getting rid of it and everybody can just spec into whatever they want, I would be okay with that. But I'm much less against it now after playing a couple hundred hours of Delta Force. And I think it's because when it's balanced appropriately, it allows for more dynamic fights. Because, like, for example, and this is what I used in my video, the meta in Tarkov right now is jiggle peek a right hand peek and like never expose yourself for longer than it takes to shoot exactly 3 shots out of a full auto gun. You never peek and full auto. You go, and then you unpeek, and then you rotate to a different right hand peek, and then you go, and then you rotate and you breathe, and it's just that until someone dies.
Yeah.
And I like thinking he's got the better position. He's playing this way. Boom. I dash wide and go boom, because you can't just jiggle right hand. Like, I get a movement bonus this way, or I get the double jump if I'm glitch and get high, or like, you know what I mean? It allows for like the dynamic of a fight to change. And I feel like Tarkov has gotten to a place where if you're fighting someone at an equal skill level, the dynamic is unchangeable. Like, what happens is both of us, this happens in Shoreline. I love Shoreline. This happens in Shoreline.
It's probably more dictated by fucking ping than anything, too.
What happens is we're both holding a right hand peek, and both of us know the power position is to not move. And the amount of times I've been fighting someone who I know is a good player at a high skill, and like 60 seconds goes by where we both know exactly where the other person is and no one moves, I just run at him and tank the death, because that's like the least fun thing in the world. The meta in Tarkov is like move the least, jiggle peek a right hand peek. And me as a player that wants to subvert that, I can't. Because I would have to then...
You have no utility, you have no options.
I would have to then run at him, because if I throw a grenade, he backs up to a different right-hand peek.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not saying that the people that do that are unskilled. I'm just saying that I like the thought of being like, oh, well, I'll just like dash this way, or I'll, use this thing or that thing, and I can like actually kind of change the dynamic of a fight. Now, the other side of that coin, the double-edged sword, is when the hero shooter thing is not balanced, you end up with basically the exact opposite. But it's like Tarkov, but worse, where every team is running like 3 of the same operator, and everybody just uses that operator, and they just use that operator the one way. And then it's like Tarkov, but worse. So I get that it's a double-edged sword, and I get that a lot of people don't like it. And I would never tell somebody that you should like it if you hate it. But my honest opinion was, my opinion softened on it a lot. And this last playtest, I ended up like, it was me, Berkey, and Stankrat, and we all 3 played different characters, and it felt like super synergistic, like very good synergy between the 3 of us. And during the playtest,
I take it you can't have duplicate, like you can't all be the same.
You can.
Oh, okay.
And
you have 4 drunk rats or whatever.
Yeah, you can, and it let it be known that during the playtest, we didn't run into any squads running 3. Like, each squad felt like they were finding utility out of multiple people.
Okay.
So it was cool. So that's the runners. There's a lot more to talk about, but before we do, I do want to take a quick second and thank the sponsor for this episode, and that is Turtle Beach. Oh man, we're deep in the gaming talk too. We're talking about Marathon, we're talking about Tarkov. Turtle Beach is one of the most quintessential. I remember being like 14 in Best Buy looking at all the Turtle Beach headsets and stuff like that. It was a status symbol of gamers, and they are still holding strong with tons of really, really awesome products.
It literally, the day I brought Turtle Beaches home during the COD 4 days was the day I became a god gamer.
Yes, dude. Yes.
Playing playing 1v1s when you hear the footsteps, and you know if you're against someone who's not level 44, they don't have dead silence, that it was just like having good headphones.
Yeah,
playing a game with proper directional audio is wall hacks.
Yeah. I
mean, it's like genuinely like
it's everything.
You can just it's everything.
So
I've got the Stealth Pros upstairs in the bedroom, and that's what I've been rocking when I'm watching. Yeah, there you go. When I'm I don't even use them for gaming right now. I've been using them for just chilling, watching movies, listening to music on my laptop. They're super comfortable, super chill. Every now and then the wife grabs them, if she's trying to kind of be quieter, but
100%.
But yeah.
Yeah, man, we've always they're amazing. We've always been super honest about the fact that like we both use IEMs a lot when we're gaming, but like I use headphones for so much more. I've got consoles like the Switch and stuff out in the living room. I'm going to get an Xbox for the kids here soon. So there's like tons of other utility outside of just sitting at my or traveling with these is actually really nice. Like these on an airplane, these are literally like, I really cannot express to you how like, it's like 2.5 inches of memory foam. It's crazy. They're super comfortable. What I really like about them is that like, it's got the boom, the gamer headset, but it doesn't look like it's like stealth mode. If you need a headset, if you're on an Xbox or you take it to someone's house, you flip that down, but it doesn't have to look like the big, classic gamer thing. Yeah. You could just use these as Bluetooth headphones. 80-hour battery life of use while you're using this thing. 80 hours is insane. And it's got their, what do they call it? The, I forget what they call it specifically, but the, cross-play dual wireless transmitter system.
Oh, yeah.
It comes with 2 USB sticks. So you could plug this into your PC and plug the other one into your Xbox. And then instead of having to fiddle and find the USB anytime you wanted to switch, you just like hit the button and you swap to the other one. That's insane. So yeah, man. And then Turtle Beach has tons of other products now. They got like controllers, they got like steering wheels and flight sticks and all sorts of stuff. It's the same insane, amazing quality that has been there all along, with amazing updated products like the Stealth 700 and their headphones, and then a bunch of other stuff too, which is sick. So you can head to turtlebeach.com and use code POGCAST. I just want to make sure I got that right. Use code POGCAST for 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off your order at turtlebeach.com with promo code POGCAST. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please say, please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach.a. Bada bing, boom, bow.
Dude, the Turtle Beaches are like, for years, it was like the Kleenex of, it's like, you got Turtle Beaches? It was
for
just
a while there,
headphones.
It was like, exactly. It was almost like, do you have headphones? Like, you got Turtle Beaches? Did you bring your Turtle Beaches? Like, they were up there.
Because they were years ahead.
Streets ahead
of all of that.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, man, I mean, I could talk about Marathon for forever. Did you have any like questions or anything based on any of the stuff you saw?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that I think is going to be, I don't know, I guess like really a factor for a lot of people is it seems bullet spongy.
Yeah.
Is it like as far as what the hell's that? Apex?
Not nearly. And that is a direct result of feedback, by the way. When I went in September, almost all we talked about in every session was you got to bring the time to kill down. It was like we were like telling the devs, we were like, this game as it plays today, people are going to be like, why wouldn't I just play Apex? Like it was way too much. And then the most recent build we did was way better. If I had my way, I think they need like 15%, like dial it another 10 to 15%. Like, I don't think it's perfect where it is, but it's much better than it was before. It's definitely going to have. So when we talk about, we've talked about time to kill with them so much. When you talk about time to kill, it's so interesting because Tarkov has the shortest and longest time to kill I've ever seen in a video game, right? And so
it just depends on what armor,
exactly.
armor v bullet.
Yeah. So homogenizing the bullets and the time to kill means you don't get to kind of like Tarkov can kind of blame it on like, we'll get better ammo, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when they kind of when they draw a line in the sand and they say, no, there's going to be one ammo type for each gun, and then there's going to be shields, which is, armor of different varieties. You're making a decision. You're drawing a line in the sand and you're saying, hey, this is the time to kill in our game. And which is a lot more like pressure to get it right. And we've talked a lot about the value, like a solo needing to be able to like clutch a 1v2 or a 1v3. We talked a lot about like snipers and bolt actions and just in general needing to feel like you can die extremely quickly to well-placed headshots because that adds to the tension of an extraction shooter. If you know that you've got a purple shield and you can tank 73 shots, then you're not even worried about dying if your whole team has it. And we talked a lot about like, no matter what gear you have on, you need to be worried about dying. Like, I think it's like the best thing that in Tarkov, I don't even want to bring out a Zabralo because I know it's not going to change the time to kill. And it's just going to make me more mad when I die. The fact that when I bring out a Zabralo, it's not the guaranteed success button is so good. So, but because it's being homogenized, it is going to be slightly longer time to kill than an average Tarkov raid. But we were very adamant about like, so I can't speak to everything because I keep playing, like I have 40 hours, but it wasn't 40 hours on one character. It was like 20 hours on this character, 5 hours on this character, 10, So we haven't really reached the end game of like purple and gold shields and stuff like that. But what I can say is that the early game stuff, like gray shields and blue shields, the sniper, if you shoot someone in the head, they go down immediately, one shot. Which is like, that was something we harped on a lot. Like you have to, that's like the great equalizer a lot. If somebody's like a solo or a duo going up against a 3-man. So their head is in the right place for that, of understanding that they're doing the like battle royale style system with like green shields, blue shields, purple shields, and the like Apex Legends. It's like Apex Legends in its consumables. There's a shield charge, which is an armor repair kit. And then there's a patch kit, which is like healing your HP. So it looks like a BR. And we're like, it can't feel like a BR. Like it has to feel like an extraction shooter. And they really locked in on that and have done a ton of tweaking. I don't think it's perfect. I think it needs more tweaking. But like during the playtest, I clutched a 1v3 while like Bearkey was down and Stank was like rotating. I like 1v3 to squad. And I was like, okay, that was like impossible in the other build that I did. So
interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah. So like when I watch it, one of the things, what I haven't done, like totally admittedly, is I haven't like watched a raid.
Yeah.
To get a feel for like what that's like. I've really only seen kind of either highlights or, I mean, goddamn, dude, the first video I saw, I almost vomited. I saw the most egregious FPS behavior I've ever seen in my life. This guy was in like I don't even know, dude. It could have been like a 1v70. There's just like people everywhere. And at one point there was like a building that had a room.
Okay.
And the room, it looked like there might have been like another way out.
Okay.
But from my perspective, it looked like he had downed a guy. The guy like, kind of crawled in. Teammate went into the other room. They kind of traded fire back and forth. He like flanked around and was probably long enough, presumably, where he could get the other guy up.
Yeah.
And he knew they were in this room that looked like it was like, a couple of bedrooms size.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's like coming from the left, pieing the corner, but he gets 60% of the way through pieing the corner. And then he turns his back and he starts running. Like continuing in the direction where the remaining 40% of the room that for a fact 100% they're standing. So it's like, what, you don't pie the corner and then just run around to the right and he just gets shot in the back, and I just was like, I can't even watch this. Whoever this is, I can't watch them play. And I like X'd out of the video, and that was like as far as I got the first time around. This was just
That's so funny.
It was just the weirdest behavior.
Yeah.
It was like, it's the equivalent of if you like imagine being a little kid and you like step out of your bedroom in the dark backwards and then walk backwards down the stairs, it's like, no, every ounce is like turn around, like, oh god, I just felt like,
well, it was funny because amongst the like pro Valorant players and Apex players and Halo players and Tarkov players, there was a bunch of press there. There were like people from IGN and Polygon, and you could tell when you ran into them.
Oh yikes! That probably that's honestly, because I think I saw one of the earlier.
No shade on any of those organizations, but
yeah, I mean, they were missing the fucking tank kit or whatever. What was the name of it?
Locust.
No. The in Tarkov, walking tank.
The walking tank.
Wasn't that Polygon?
That was a Polygon article. The 3M armor and the Taz shotgun
and the Kiver. Dude. No, but so anyway, like back to the game itself. When I watch it, it's kind of this interesting, weird, like dissonance that I guess you could really only reconcile playing it or seeing a lot more than what I have seen. But is there something about extraction shooter like, I mean, honestly, out of all the extraction shooters I played, a lot of which were a different vibe than kind of the whole realistic sort of contemporary, military, like a lot closer to Milsim than a game like this or Apex or whatever. And there was something about the genre that's like, real life is an extraction shooter if you are like in a post-apocalyptic kind of thing, right? You watch like I Am Legend or any of these movies, it's like you have to leave your base to go do a thing to get shit and to come back alive.
It's so true.
And there's just something about like the fact that it's realistic and contemporary that makes it immersive and like relatable. And so that when I see extraction shooters that are like stylized and futuristic or science fiction, it's hard for me to quite like feel what I feel like is so tied into the genre. Whenever I see stuff like this, I just think of, it feels like Hunger Games-y. It feels like
I think the point you're making is a very valid one. Like and something that confirms that point is like a lot of people asked about like the movement speed, like what is it like Tarkov, is it like Apex? And I was like, it's crazy. It's it's not Tarkov, but it's way closer to Tarkov than you think. And that was jarring because as someone that's played 9,000 hours of Tarkov, there is something in my brain, the synapses, when I sat at the computer, the way the visual of this game, it's like I should be able to crouch slide like the length of a football field.
Yeah.
Because you're right, there is like, and it's funny that games as a medium do this maybe more so than like movies or TV shows. Like if I say sci-fi game, it's almost always that, like crazy fast movement, crazy
like
high.
If you're a robot, why aren't you jumping 30 feet?
Yeah, crazy high time to kill. But when you think about movies, the difference between like Avengers Endgame and like Prometheus or Interstellar or any other like sci-fi, like the medium of movies has been able to be like, this is sci-fi, but like incredibly dramatic and realistic, or this is sci-fi and it's the Fifth Element and Chris Tucker's running around with a crazy hairdo, or like, and they can all coexist. But in gaming, you're absolutely right. Like every bone in your body feels like I should be able to run twice as fast, slide twice as far, even though that's actually not what I want out of the game. It just, the genre, or not the genre, but the style. So that's a very valid point, and I do think that will be, and I think that'll be, well, one part of what separates it, because I think it almost needs to feel shocking to play, or else you would think, if you were like an average gamer, you'd be like, why wouldn't I just go play Apex? You have to be immediately confronted.
Why wouldn't I play Tarkov?
Yes. You would have to be,
it's got to be one or the other.
Immediately confronted with that this feels different than like your brain thinks it should. And I was confronted with that immediately. The movement speed, your stamina bar, and like your general movement speed were much slower than I anticipated them to be. And I was almost delightfully surprised by that. Instead of soft skills, like how in Tarkov, you can run like 3 times as long and twice as fast if you're elite strength and endurance versus level 1.
Yeah.
It's not soft skills, but as you level up basically there's 6 factions. Those factions give you quests. Each one of those factions has almost like an RPG style skill tree. And so you choose however you want to do, but you can like spec into like increased stamina. So instead of it being a soft skill that you just like slowly build it up. So it's the base of it is set such that when you get it upgraded, it's not Apex. Like they really kind of ground it. Now, once again, it's faster movement speed and pacing than Tarkov, but not by as much as you think.
So if you think about like a game like DayZ, where you're immersed in this kind of world where it's like the world has ended. And you go into this house and it's like what's remaining from the like past.
Yeah.
That like is, maybe a can of beans is behind the shelf, or you know what I mean? So it's like it's the idea that what you're looking for is almost like the jackpot of the unfound stash of stuff.
Yeah.
Is like a big part of it, right? Tarkov is a little bit less scarcity, but still the same kind of vibe where you're going out into a world that, at once was maybe much different, but in the sense of you open up a door with a key and like that's like the first time that door's been opened in 20 years kind of thing, right? Like, so there's the atmosphere and then there's the environments being inherently realistic and relatable and explorable in a way like I'm in a neighborhood like the swamp where it's like there's a house and a house and a house and a house, and it's like I understand when you look at stuff in games like this. Now part of that is just I don't recognize anything because I never played it, but looking at it, it's like, does it feel completely artificial and manufactured almost in a way that like the Hunger Games, they like had an island with like the fucking like they set it all up, right? It's not like it was some accidental place you woke up. It was like an arena. Does this have that vibe where like when you open a box, where did the shit come from that was in the box? And why do you want to leave with it? Yeah,
so if you're interested in that, there is answers to all those questions. Now, basically there is an answer to that question. It's not quite like the DayZ and Tarkov because, once again, like you said, the point of those games is to like connect to like the reality. You could kind of see yourself walking around streets of Tarkov on a scav run, IRL, where you're like, there's military operations in the area. I'm just trying to get food for my family. I've got this pump action shotgun, right? So there's a relatability that just inherently is not there when we talk about a planet in another star, in another, galaxy.
That goes hand in hand with the genre.
Yeah. Now, there are answers to all those questions, and this is one of the reasons I'm most excited that Bungie is making this, because I remember playing a lot of Destiny. Well, Halo is filled with a lot of like story, right? Like in lore. Those were like single player games for a long time. Even Destiny, there was a lot of like, I remember The Taken King as like one of the most epic, narratively driven expansions to Destiny 1. Like The Taken King was sick, bro. There is so much like lore and history. I don't think they're doing a good enough job at presenting it currently. I know a lot of it because I've gotten to talk to them about it, but like they're not doing a good job of like translating that to the player. But yeah, so it's like where it all came from.
I feel like Valorant kind of did that a little bit better because they had like these little short
even
movie
League of
stories.
Legends does it really well with like the cinematics around their characters and stuff. But like, so the like TLDR of where all this stuff came from is the where we are, like those maps you're exploring, they were built 100 years ago.
Okay.
So it was Earth's first colony on not our solar system. So in this world, we've colonized Mars, but we went out. They took the UESC Marathon, which is an asteroid that they turned into a ship, and they sent it.
Neat concept.
They sent it. It's actually really sick visually. They sent it to Tau Ceti, is this galaxy, I think, and then is the name of the star. And then Tau Ceti 4 is the super Earth that there. And over like a couple hundred years, we were colonizing this. And then basically an alien race named the Phor, Phor, came and fucked shit up. And then a bunch of like mega corporations basically realized that and sent each corporation basically vying for like the riches or the secrets or figuring out what happened or whatever, are like in a race to get each of the 6 mega corporations to get there and figure out what happened and like pool whatever like rare minerals or rare stuff or like ancient alien artifacts from the Phor. But it took them 100 years to get back. The first ship took 300 years to get there, but as technology evolved, the second group of people took 100 years. So you are there 100 years after it happened. And it basically like these people were like the people that were there were just like wiped away. And so the maps like reflect, there are maps where like almost everything is like perfect and everybody's just gone. But then there are other maps where like you could tell shit went down here.
Yeah. There was actual combat and whatever.
And that also explains a lot of the aesthetic as well. Because you think about like, we've already had these conversations. When you think about what a colony is going to look like on Mars or the moon, what does it look like? Basically 3D printed. Yeah. Which is exactly the aesthetic. Like they weren't going for like Gothic architecture. They were trying to set up as many facilities as possible. So
it's just prefab.
Exactly. Shit. So like the map is like Dire Marsh. There's like algae ponds where like they grow food. And like, so a certain subset of materials you need for your upgrades are going to spawn here much more frequently. There was field maintenance where it was a lot of like workshop stuff and you can find guns there really frequently. So it doesn't feel connected to me in the way where I could see myself walking the streets of Tarkov. But it does feel like this is exactly how we would do it if we could teleport to another planet today. And then you're arriving 100 years later going, what happened? And you're a cybernetic mercenary. You're a mercenary that elected to upload your entire consciousness to a computer. And then they just 3D print you a body and you go. And if you die, they just 3D print you another body and you go. And they just 3D print you another body.
So there's an in-universe fucking explanation. No game has this. An in-universe, I mean, some do, but not like a game like Tarkov, which has the dissonance of like, you died, you lost all your shit. There's a penalty for it, but also you're just home again. Like,
yes.
Like as if this is supposed to be the fucking moon.
Exactly. So that's the like backstory of why when you're there, there's like stuff and you're like finding materials and you're finding guns where guns would go, because 100 years ago there was like a little mini civilization of people that lived here that got
and like
fucked up by some aliens.
Your like stash, like are you like one way you could picture this, right, is that like you have this little hab that you live in or whatever, you hop in like a helicopter, it goes, little fucking drone thing, it drops you off at a thing, you do a supply run and you go back, and like this is where everyone lives, the home base. How like this kind of cycle of like you're leaving, like the essence of extraction shooter is you go and you come back with having accomplished something or bringing something back, right?
So there isn't like a physical hideout outside of raid. It is just menus, but presumably you would be cycling back to one of the ships from one of those big mega corporations, whichever mega corporation you're mercenarying for. You would like, because there's the marathon ship, the original one, and then other people, basically 100 years later, a couple of different of the mega corporations and the UESC, everyone's basically trying to fight to figure out what happened. You would just be on one of their ships.
So it's like literally like space Like, is the
No, there is no like cinematic like Helldivers where you're like dropping down.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, just like conceptually,
Yes.
right? Like even before Tarkov had the hideout, conceptually, you were thinking you're going back to like this dank ass fucking garage or whatever. You know, like you imagine that. Like, where is your character before they? Do they just like materialize in the city center? Is there like a gate they walk in?
Yeah.
Where are they coming from and where are they going?
Yeah, I would imagine that, you live on the ships or they're creating more like little settlements on the planet. That's not like super duper explained.
Okay.
But
yeah, because like when I see this and I see like there's fighting and there's looting and stuff, it almost feels, you know, like in these other games like Apex and the BRs, like what you're trying to do is win, right? Either be the one who survives or be like the champion who triumphs, like you know, the fucking gladiator Coliseum kind of thing. When it comes to a game like Tarkov, it's like survive, make it back, you know, whatever. In this, when I watch it, the only like the surviving part of it, especially with like a group, the best way I can describe the essence of like the vibe I get is like CS:GO, a save round.
Yeah.
Where you're like, they've taken the site, they've planted the bomb. Let's all just back up and like, like
I
survive
see what you
to play
mean.
another day, as opposed to like, what am I doing? Right?
No, I see what you mean. I think the moment to moment gameplay is compelling in that way because you, as like a progression Andy, you're trying to do a quest, you have materials you need, you're low on money and you've got valuables, like all of those carrots at the end of the stick in a Tarkov raid, like assuming you were a guy that didn't care about lore at all and you were all mechanics. All of those things in a Tarkov raid, you've got something valuable, you have a quest item, you have something you need for an upgrade to a hideout, or you've got a lot of PvP loot and you want to leave. All of that is there in the moment-to-moment gameplay, pushing you to want to survive in the tension. But at a macro level of like, what are we doing here? That's very explainable in Tarkov because it's like the war-torn country, you're on your own, you're trying to make it and survive and thrive and grow and whatever. That I feel like they're not doing a good enough job of filling that gap with the like lore in the story. Dude, because I went down a deep rabbit hole of like the original Marathon trilogy because it was 3 games. The first game came out in either 91 or 94. They were made for the Mac only, which was crazy. And they're so lore rich, man. They're so lore rich. And I know some things I can't really talk about. Like they are going to do insane stuff and they're not bridging the gap right now enough. I think that that's because they feel defensive of having to be like, no, we're an extraction shooter and we're going to be a good one. So they're very mechanics forward right now with their communication, but they're not doing like in Destiny. When I saw some of those first trailers and you saw the Traveler, which was this big giant orb and it was like a person, but not a person. And it was like sentient, but kind of not. And it was like benevolent but it's in danger. And like, you didn't know what, but like, you had like a mission. It was like, what is the Traveler and what am I doing here? And there was like that.
Kind of like No Man's Sky. Like, what is the Atlas? What's,
And they need that high level emotional beat that connects you to the world. And there's so much there for them to do it with in the lore of Marathon and what they want to do. They need to communicate it. The cinematic that you'll watch will get you there a little bit, but that's very like, it's very decidedly like outside of the game. Like that was like a cool project they did just to get people hyped, but they need more like in-game cinematic. They need to kind of connect us to the story more. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I think you're right. And it's cool that it seems like that's not something that they're totally ignoring. Cause very often like you get to this point in the game and it's like, what was the other game that, the Cycle Frontier?
Yes.
I almost feel like the Cycle kind of had that problem a little bit. Now, granted, I also didn't jump in super deep into that, but just like I did play it a few days, and for me, it kind of. Did I tell you about that game Boba? The fucking the one that like was made by Daniel Mullins in like a day.
Yes.
Where so the essence of it was like you it's just this like total fucking 2D retro looking thing, right? And it starts off where it's like you have these resources where it's like it's year number 1 and you just see like the year number kind of ticking up and you see like I've got like some amount of gold and some amount of slaves and some amount of faith.
Yes.
And, like, and it's like and so the essence of what made this game so genius was that it gets more and more complex as you play and you're multitasking with so many things. You're like, okay, I have money, but I want more faith. So you buy priests and it's like, oh, but I need more wheat. So then I need to trade like priests for like slaves. And then like, oh, well, I need to get more slaves. So then I need to buy an army so that I can fight. And it's literally just clicking buttons and just making numbers go up. But at least like there's these ideas and concepts tied to it, and then it gets more and more complicated to the point where you're multitasking. There's cooldowns. You're doing so much. You're spamming all these buttons on your keyboard, and then as the game like progresses, at some point like the whole thing, like the screens just disappear, and you're like, oh shit, the game crashed, and then like another window pops up, and it's just the game starting all over again, except it's all in an alien language.
Yeah,
nothing makes sense. The symbols are all meaningless, and yet like you're like.
You know what to do.
Oh, I'm just like, I'm getting 3 Zork-mids for 19 Zikamobs, and it becomes like this mechanical thing where like I know what to do, but I don't know if this was the intention of this game, but it's almost like it points a finger at the fact that like some games are just like the shit that you're doing doesn't fucking matter.
Yes.
It's just press button, watch number go up, right? It's just trick shot simulator. It's just like pull the lever and watch blah, 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 blah. And so it just makes me wonder if like I feel like they're gonna have to if they want to appeal to the Tarkov people, they're gonna have to give them some reason to care about the box of electrical 3D printing nano circuits. Because otherwise it's just a Zork-mid that's worth $11.
I 100% agree with you. Yeah, for sure. And to be honest with you, that's where I think every extraction shooter outside of Hunt Showdown, I think Hunt Showdown has done a great job basically like really setting up the world they want you to inhabit. But that's because it's also relatable. Yeah.
Even though there's aliens and like
monsters
and fucking devils and whatever, you're like a cowboy in like you know.
No, I think I 100% agree that like when you think about Arena Breakout, when I think about even Delta Force, I love Delta Force, but like nothing matters. I don't know the story. I don't know what factions that. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what country it's set in or if it's a war-torn country. It's all just like mechanics, just like a fun extraction shooter to play. But you're right. There is some Zaza. There's some special sauce in the DayZs, in the No Man's Skies, in the Tarkovs that give you a broader worldview. They get you to care. And I think I'm not going to say they're going to do that well. I think they have the lore backdrop that this game is set against means they don't have an excuse to not do it well. They might not do it well, right? Like they might not do it well, but they have the opportunity to do it well with the lore that's happening. Before we move on, I'm going to take a quick second and thank the second sponsor for this episode, and that is ExpressVPN. Using the internet without a VPN is like using your phone without a case. Sure, you'll be fine most of the time, but it only takes one drop for you to regret that. These days, a lot of unknown networks that you can be on are not very secure. If you're out and about at a coffee shop or at an airport, those networks are notorious for not being very secure. Very easy for an unsavory actor or a hacker to get a hold of your internet traffic. ExpressVPN creates a secure and encrypted tunnel for your information so that it can't be gotten by those other people. It's very easy to use. You can turn it on with one click, and it's usable on just about any device. They have a bunch of really cool tools like a dedicated IP, which means not even ExpressVPN can find your IP and track it back to you. Identity Defender for US customers helps get your information off of the internet, removed from data brokers, which is nice. And it is rated #1 by top tech reviewers like CNET and The Verge. ExpressVPN, I like to use a lot when I'm traveling at a lot of airports on a lot of different Wi-Fis with a lot of different people around. And then there's also convenient things, like I like using it for unlocking geo-restricted content on streaming services. You can kind of put yourself anywhere in the world and unlock a whole lot of content, which is kind of like a convenience in addition to all the security things it provides. You can secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/pogcast. That is expressvpn.com/pogcast to find out how you can get up to 4 extra months for free. expressvpn.com/podcast. Thank you so much to ExpressVPN for sponsoring this episode. I'm really excited for some of the ways that they're like hopefully going to like push the needle of what an extraction shooter is forward. Like, did you ever play Destiny or like, did you ever have, I'm sure prior,
I've seen like 3
you ever played like an MMO, like on PC, like World of Warcraft? Have you ever like a WoW raid or something? Okay.
I've seen Leroy Jenkins, and I got my gnome elf or whatever to level 2 so I could get a Hearthstone card back. That's my MMO experience.
Okay. Well, I missed all the classic MMOs, but I played the shit out of Destiny and I played the shit out of Division, which were basically what if we brought the MMO genre to consoles. And so like I remember the first raid in Destiny was Vault of Glass. That's what it was called. And it was like a spiritual experience for me, right? Like it might not go up there in the annals of history as like the best raid in MMO of all time, but it was like a spiritual experience for me. It's like 6 players. I like was on the PlayStation forums in a looking for group channel. I popped in and it's like, it takes like an hour to do when everybody knows what to do. And there's like puzzles and like Bungie made the shit. Like it was just so exquisite. There was AI, there was puzzles, there were mechanics, there were things to learn and get better at. There was loot along the way, and there was a final boss, and there was like all this kind of cool stuff. And they've done a bunch of raids in Destiny 1. They did a bunch of raids in Destiny 2. The third or the fourth map that I played the last time I was there. I can't talk much about it. I'm allowed to say that I played it, but it's set on the UESC Marathon, the original colony ship that got fucked up. And it's on the ship, and it basically imagine like a MMO raid where there's PvP happening. Like there's like puzzles and mechanics and reasons to move through the map and like end game loot, but with like the fucking Wild West of like 8 squads all fighting over it. Like it was so like not ready, but dude, the I can't really talk about it, but it's sick. So there's a lot of ways where I can see the potential for the genre to even get pushed forward, and there being more meaning and purpose in the raids outside of just like either PvP or like get loot. And that's very exciting.
Sick.
For sure. Even like mini bosses and like puzzles in the regular raids too. There's like run objectives and like puzzles you can do to
medium difficulty Sudokus.
Yes, medium difficulty Sudokus. Yes. So there's cool stuff in the game that's coming. One of the mechanics I think is like really cool, and this was like one of my favorite things, is any item, any piece of gear, so like gun, shield, implant, any piece of gear, you can find it in the world and it can be vintage. And what a vintage piece of item is
it's just sepia colored.
Yeah. The vintage Instagram filter. Every time you extract with it, the value that you would get from selling it to the trader increases. So it's gamba. You're gambling.
So like you go out with it, you come back, it makes it more expensive. You go out.
Yes.
Yikes.
So you're incentivized to like push your luck a little bit. But if somebody kills you, if you worked an item that was worth 300 up to 3K and somebody kills you, they take it and they can go sell it for 3K. So there's this added layer of like some of the loot is like doubly or triply worth taking. Like you might find an implant that's not quite as good as yours, but it's vintage and this guy's been using it for forever. And now you're like, well, I want to take this because I want to go cash in. And then if you're the guy with the vintage item, you're making the decision, do I sell it now or do I go, we're on a streak. We're going for one more. And so I really like that.
Oh, there's got to be like the community needs to agree to like an unspoken thing where it's like, don't like don't sell it until it gets to like 1 million or whatever. Like,
yeah.
Like, that's going to be all the shorts for all the content creators are all going to be like, I took my $300,000 fucking tchotchke Zorkmid into the raid with me. And,
Sycamore. It's really cool. So that was like another cool mechanic as well. Another interesting part of this is what I find so interesting is like what part of the conversation around any game like this, Delta Force, ABI, Cycle Frontier, Marathon, is like it's like baby's first Tarkov, or like it's casual Tarkov, or this, that, and the other. And it's actually really interesting. Like, what does casual mean? And before you answer that, here's basically what I'm presenting to you. So let's say Escape from Tarkov. Teams them up to 5, but as low as 1. No squad fill, right? Like there isn't a way to like automatically just like enter a 5-man with people you don't know. Friendly fire's on. You can get one tapped in the head with just about any bullet. No respawning, no rezzing, no self-res. But on the economy side, you can pay $150 or $250 for a big ass, a 3x3 secure container where nothing goes. You can
wait, like real money?
Yeah, in Tarkov, you pay the $250, the unheard edition. You get the Gamma container. In the Gamma container, you can stick key tools and SICK cases, and you can turn those 10 cells, an injector case, a key tool, a SICK case, a docs case. You can turn the 10 cells, the 9 in your butt into like 40, 50. You know what I mean? You can buy just about anything you need on the flea market. You can craft a bunch of stuff. Your keys are safe. That's Tarkov. That's the hardcore experience. So now it's like marathon, right? On one hand, you've got squad fill, no friendly fire, a down but not out state, and when you die, your teammate can revive you if they win the fight. So casual. This game's so casual, super casual. On the flip side, there's no flea market. There's no secure container. And the rarest keys in the game, you just go find them and you have to put them in your pocket. And if you die, you lose it. So which one's more hardcore? In Tarkov, if I want a mutant, I'll just go on the flea market and buy a mutant.
What was more hardcore was 2018 Tarkov. Was the real hardcore. It was the thing is that like hardcore, what hardcore means, translation for all you gamers out there, hardcore means we don't have any features. The more features you add, the less hardcore it becomes.
So true,
right? It's like
bro.
a race car, like a true race car is hardcore because there's no carpet, there's no fucking windows to like roll down, there's no radio, there's no heater, right? It's bars and metal and whatever.
Yeah.
That was Tarkov without a flea market, without, which scaverons were like the hotness, right? The moment you add features in, because Tarkov now it's the same sports car, except it's got a radio and it's got carpet and it's got leather massaging seats and whatever. It just,
and none of them work.
It just doesn't have an airbag.
Yeah.
So you'll die when you fucking crash.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I agree with you. But that's what I'm saying. Was like, I'm not even advocating that Marathon is more hardcore. But what I'm saying is like, when I get asked 1,000 times a day, or it gets commented or whatever about how like that's a much more casual game, it's like, okay, like when you get to play it, go play it and feel what an extraction shooter is like with no secure container and no flea market. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying that inherently makes it more hardcore than Tarkov, but what I'm saying is that like the comparison is just like, how do you even do it? Because how do you add up all the things that do make Marathon more casual, which is like squad fill and no friendly fire? But then how do you offset that with things where it's like, if you find a Bitcoin in Tarkov, where does that go? Plus 700K, no matter what happens, plus 700K. I paid for my kit. You know what I mean? You die and you want to run that gun again, we just buy one off the flea. What if you couldn't do that? What if there was no flea? What if there was no secure container?
Yeah, I think if like the reality check comes from, like you said, identifying that Tarkov being this hardcore experience it's vestigial.
I don't know what that word means.
Like your tailbone is vestigial. It's a leftover remnant from the past, you know, because like literally monkeys had tails.
Yeah.
It's like everyone has been always referring to it as the hardcore game, and at some point I think it kind of went over this threshold where it's like not quite where people back in the day wouldn't, if they would point to the game now and say that's not a hardcore game, but this is pointing to 2018 target 0.4, you know, 0.5 or whatever. But at no point did the like mindset of the fucking gamer community bravado of like, this is the game for the real men, you know, kind of thing, that never went away.
And I think you're absolutely right. Tarkov was, in almost every definition of the word, the most hardcore shooter game out there for a PvP shooter game out there for a long time. And basically what happened was, as hardcore features were chipped away, like stash space expanded, secure container expanded, more containers in the game, more containers you could bring to the game, the flea market, you know, protection against like RMT, all this kind of stuff. What's happened is now everybody, the people that cry, you know, well, that, you know, Delta Force isn't hardcore, you know, Marathon's not hardcore. Their attention has only ever basically been drawn to whatever's left. So now there's like 4 things left in Tarkov that are hardcore, which is that like there's no revive, you know, you can't come back,
and you
friendly fire's on, and you can get one tapped. And now the definition of hardcore to those people has shrunk to those 3 specific things. And if a game doesn't have those, if you can respawn, not hardcore. Whereas,
I mean, Minecraft is more hardcore.
Yeah.
The creeper blows up and all your shit falls in the lava and ggets literally deleted. Okay. That's more hardcore than fucking Tarkov.
Yeah. So I'm not even advocating that Marathon is more hardcore than Tarkov. What I'm saying is that it's been an interesting conversation because, like you said, what the definition of hardcore has changed so much. It raises the question. What Tarkov has that's hardcore that's left over is not the only definition of hardcore, but it may be a part of the definition of hardcore. And so when people are like, it's just funny because I think the way Marathon is right now, if you said, oh, you're a casual, you only have a couple hours a day, go play Marathon, man. I think you would have a hard time because there's no secure container. There's no guarantee you're going to get your life back. There's no insurance in the game. There's nothing. You'd freaking be pissed. But I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. I actually love that there's no secure container. I love that there's no insurance. I love that there's no flea market. The moment-to-moment gameplay feels more like 2018 Tarkov than 2025 Tarkov does.
Yeah.
You can get one-tapped in Marathon, buy a sniper rifle. Yes, you can get revived. But I can't buy whatever I want off the flea. I can't have my buddy ditch my stuff and I get it all back in insurance. I lost the key that I found, the really rare one. Like, that shit's cool, man. I like it.
Yeah. It's all just completely arbitrary. Like, it kind of goes back to the genre music definitions of things. Like, what makes it like, it's one of those things, like, you look at a game and you know, people think that they can look at a game and decide whether it's hardcore or not based on a few features, but without recognizing, like, at what point there's like a spectrum, and you can see on a spectrum whether something is like A or B.
Yeah.
But it's like, at what point does A become B? When it's red over here and blue over here, and in the middle it's like purple, and it's like always purple but like over here it's definitely blue.
Yes.
But like,
where does it become blue?
Yeah, it's this kind of weird nebulous sort of thing. You know, so being able to get revived, but when you die you lose everything.
Yeah.
Is to me like comparable to not being able to get revived, and when you die you don't lose everything.
Yeah. And you can potentially get everything back.
Yeah.
Like the amount of times in Tarkov, in the hardcore game, I've died, Valiant has ditched my entire kit in a bush. I found a Bitcoin before I died, so I end up plus 800K. The only thing I lost were my grenades and my ammo. Everything else came back.
Yeah, and your stims.
And my stims. But in Marathon...
Actually, no, you probably have the stims in a stim case in your...
Yeah.
protector case.
So
right?
I literally lost nothing but ammo, but gained 800k, even though I died in the hardcore game. But in the casual game, when you die, I lose everything.
Yeah, I mean, like TOS said in chat, I mean, a lot. It ends up being a conflated thing.
Yes,
where
and I agreed with that.
Hardcore equals realistic equals milsim equals modern. Like if you have like a laser gun, like if the moment you add a futuristic whatever, it's no longer hardcore.
I saw that, and that was a click moment for me as well. Where like I actually think you're right. It's a conflation thing. I think slowly hardcore has become and meant milsim and realistic. And so that's interesting. And once again, I'm not even saying that anybody is inherently wrong. I think a lot of aspects of this game are way more casualized, and a lot of aspects are actually kind of more hardcore and punishing. And so you draw that line wherever. But it was just an interesting conversation, to say the least, about the game. And it weirdly felt nostalgic as someone who came right at the end of what would be considered the glory days. I played Tarkov for like a year where there was no Flea. I played before Found and Raid, before Flea, before most of the bosses, like way back in that day. It weirdly, playing Marathon, the moment to moment, weirdly felt like nostalgic. Like it was super interesting. That's
awesome.
And also I think that once again, love or hate any of these games, whether you love or hate Tarkov, ABI, Delta Force, Cycle, Marathon, whatever. One of the reasons why I'm excited is because the Marathon is trying to do something different. Tarkov has a flea market, a key tool, insurance, and a secure container. Delta Force has a place for your keys. It's got a secure container that goes up to 3x3, and it's got a flea market where you can buy anything and there's no restrictions. Arena Breakout Infinite. There's a secure container that goes up to 3x3. There's a flea market where you can buy anything that you want, and there's a place to put your keys. So I kind of like that, like, people see this and they're like, oh, this looks like Delta Force or ABI, but in space. But I actually think that those are the big differentiators. I got to interview one of the devs, and I asked him, because he was in charge of like the implants, which like you have 5 slots on your character for like basically implants that augment your play style in some way. Mm-hmm. And I was like, these best ones, these really good ones, I was like, are you eventually going to be able to buy these from the trader, or are you going to have to find these things? And he was like, you're obviously, as you progress, going to be able to buy more and more things from the trader, but like we really want to keep like a lot of the good stuff, like you have to go find it. And so I was like, oh man, it's going to feel, once again, everybody puts everything that's not Tarkov in a bucket. A lot of people have already written off, this game is going to be Delta Force and ABI, but in space. But I really think those people underestimate how much they rely on the flea market and a secure container in whatever game they play. In Delta Force, literally every time I died, I just bought everything I wanted off the flea market. In Tarkov, every time I die, I buy just about anything I want off the flea market. I think you underestimate how much you rely on your secure container and how much you rely on the flea market. And it is very interesting to play an extraction shooter game without those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So, but yeah, man. So it's exciting. They're doing a closed alpha in a couple of weeks. Presumably there's going to be some betas in the summer or something, and then they haven't announced that, but I'm just assuming. And then the release of the game is September 23rd. I think that in my video, I spent probably over half of my video talking about the things I didn't like, talking about the feedback I gave, right? Like there's no proximity chat. I think VoIP needs to be in the game. There's so much emergent gameplay that comes from that in Tarkov and DayZ. You know what I mean? I think it's required. I think that like it needs more loot that's not like gear related. I think the backpacks are way too small. I think the stash space is way too small. I think like one of the things I told them a lot was like, how many times back when you played Tarkov did this happen? Somebody in chat, this game is so shit. I just died 11 times on Shoreline. Fuck this game. I'm never playing again. And you're like, oh man, I feel you. I see what you mean then. But then you go to labs and you walked out with 100 kilograms worth of loot because you killed 6 players. And that chatter goes, fuck, dude. All right, I'm going to Shoreline. Wish me luck. That is really important, which is basically the dream of a good raid covers the bad raids, right? Like, you need to be able to have that jackpot raid.
Well, because it's gambling.
Yes.
This, at its heart, it is literally gambling.
Yes, but if you can't win, it's not fun. And a lot of the feedback I gave to them, which is the backpacks are way too small, because when you win, you can't bring out enough shit. It's like the expectation is that the player is going to die and more than 50% of the time. You have to give them the opportunity to have the one raid that week where they were like, their hands were shaking and they got out with all the loot and they're like, oh my God, 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 oh my God. They're going to lose all that gear, but that's the gamble. That's the dopamine. That's the addiction. And the backpacks were way too small. You were leaving most of your loot behind.
There's like an inherent balance that needs to happen around, like, and I don't know what the number is. I'm pulling these numbers out of my ass, right? But if you have a 33% survival rate, if the 1 out of every 3 raids, you should be able to take out like 350% of a backpack, or of value in your gear. Otherwise, the line just goes down.
Yeah.
And it becomes not quite fun anymore. Like where the kind of casino metaphor breaks down is the fact that like the casino wants you to lose. They want to take from you, right? Tarkov shouldn't necessarily want that.
Yeah.
I like the best times I had ever playing Tarkov over the course of like a span of months was when I was like, the slope was very slightly positive.
Yeah.
And I was just getting quests done and slowly building up a bank, getting quests done and slowly, and by bank back in the day, that was
8 million
item cases. Well, no, it wasn't even 8 million.
Oh yeah, it was just item cases.
It was item cases
filled with Zabralos
with fucking 4 fort armors, the Zabralos with fully like 3-piece fast MTs
with the mandible
and NVGs and like contacts. It was like you were just slowly building up you kill 2 guys, you'd be like, that's 2 more kits, and so if you're just always kind of losing, eventually it just loses its luster, right?
Yes.
It's almost like you can lose a lot. Lose, lose, ding, 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 lose, lose, ding, 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 right? Like,
and that's exactly what I was trying to explain. Like, you have to give me the ability to like win because
your
addiction.
heart has to be racing.
That's the
and
addiction.
it only is that when you have a lot of stuff or something extremely valuable.
Yep.
So yeah,
for sure. So like that was some of the feedback I gave. I kind of went on a tirade where like my personal kind of like hot take, although I don't know, I can't tell if most people agree with me or disagree with me. It depends on the day when I talk about this in chat. I think squad fill is ruining extraction shooters. I think it just doesn't belong in extraction shooters. Delta Force does it where the squad fill is on by default. So if you're a solo, you hit Q, by default, you're going to queue in with 2 others. You're always going to be a 3-man team. It's just going to fill it with you. That's why friendly fire's off. I'm okay with friendly fire being off. But I think that I imagine the reason for it is to help protect solos and duos so they're not always getting stomped, right? But I personally think it creates more problems than it solves, because what happens is if it's on by default, almost no one will turn it off, because now it feels like you could play solo in Tarkov and most people playing like duos or 3s, but turning off squad fill feels like you're actively participating in like, I want to be at a disadvantage. And so no one turns it off. And so everybody does the 3-mans. And because no one turns it off, you've actually just galvanized that the game is always being played by 3-mans, which means the people that wanted to play solo that you were trying to protect, if they want to play solo, now they for sure can't, because you've guaranteed they're only going to run into 3-mans. Because like you can turn squad fill off and you can run as a solo or a duo.
But the average person won't.
And the other average person that plays super casually, the experience in squad fill is always unanimously bad. People are always like, my teammates are just running off. They're doing their own thing. I die and they don't come back to res me.
Yeah.
So I think the player you're trying to protect, you actually more often, it's definitely helped people, but I think more often than not is a hindrance. And what you sacrifice there is what I think is one of the most core elements of an extraction shooter, which what happens when you see a guy and you one-tap him? Does he have a buddy? That's gone. Because everything's in 3s. So not until the third person's dead is that squad wipe. And the tension in Tarkov of, does he have a buddy? Should I go loot him now? Should I go loot him quickly because someone might have heard my shot and they might be pushing this location? Or should I go loot him after a while? Should I check? I thought I heard more footsteps. That entire element of the extraction shooter is gone. It becomes a BR. It becomes like Apex Legends. Get a pick, push the squad. You have a numbers advantage. It's 3v2.
Yeah.
So I think it's bad, dude. And then what happens?
If you're solo, do you skip the down state? Like a lot of games, like there's no point in having down when no one can get you up.
Because you can find self-reses in the game.
Okay.
So there's still a down state, like just in case you had one. You can give up if you were soloed and down. And then every time, I don't think there's a single game with squad fill enabled by default that doesn't immediately have 600 Reddit threads calling for solo mode.
Yeah.
And then solo mode creates more problems because now you have to balance the spawns. If the map is supposed to have 18 players, but that's 6 teams, well, how do you spawn 18 solos? That's not ass. You have to rebalance the runners. Is everybody just going to pick the one runner that goes invisible and you have 18 people doing that? Or do you have to rebalance the loot? And so like solo queue's a nightmare. You're fracturing your player base and all you have to do is just not have squad fill on. And maybe even what's cool in Delta Force, and they have this feature, which means they definitely shouldn't have put squad fill in. But in Delta Force, you can create a request for a squad. It's like a built-in looking for group channel. And you can say, I'm Viren. I have another guy that's Shepard. And we're looking for, I can't think of any of the, we're looking for this person. And we're going zero dam. And we're going, Pikachu. We're going zero dam and we're going hardcore mode. Boom. And then it pops up in the chat. So like, I think turning squad fill off, creating a looking for group channel would more evenly distribute. You would see solos, you would see duos, you would see 3s, and you would not know what you're going to run into. And you would give the people who want to find other people to play with a way to do that.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
And you can res them if they've full died. So basically means like if someone's alive, then 3 are alive unless they're in a fight. Yeah, so I get that.
Yeah. So I think it really kills the spirit of an extraction shooter to like have that much knowledge all the time. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The response to the game has been all over the place. What I'm having to, remind people a lot of is that like our brains are more tuned to see an opinion that clashes with ours than it is to see one that is with ours. And I'm having to remind people, it's like the people that hate the game, all of their tweets start with, everyone is glazing this game up. Hot take, it's ass.
And then the opposite.
And then all of the people that like the game are going, why is everyone hating on this game? Mm-hmm. Those statements are mutually exclusive. Everybody can't be glazing the game up and hating it. You are probably just tuning, subconsciously tuning your brain to see the hate if you're excited because that hate kind of frustrates you. And if you think it looks like hot ass, then you probably think everyone's out there glazing it up and getting paid to say so. So I'm having to like remind people, it's like just kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Like, I'm excited for it. I'm not going to tell other people to be excited for it. If they're excited for it, we can connect about that. If you're not excited for it, then and you're here for the Tarkov gameplay, that's fine. Like, let's rip some Tarkov. You know what I mean? But like, we have to remember that we can't take a look at Twitter or Reddit or anything and then extrapolate that out to the entire gamer base. Like, that's just not how that works. You know what I mean?
Yep. Indeed.
So, but yeah, so that's Marathon. I'm stoked on it. I've told them every criticism. You know, I was super honest with them. We were talking about a specific feature in the game and I asked why they made it. And then he explained it. And I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. That was the vibe, is that like, I literally said that to them and it was like, he laughed and we talked about it. And it was so funny. They did a video. They showed a 20-minute video of a bunch of gameplay and it was like all of our perspectives, because they actually recorded only me, Bearkey, Stankrat, Hidden Xperia, Scarrow, and Dr. Lupo. Just us 6 got like filmed. And so they were showing us, and then all 6 of us got to do like a really intense multicam, super professional looking interview where they asked us a bunch of questions about the game. And then they made this reel that they showed to 300,000 people. And and all of the footage they showed from those like really intense interviews was everybody being like, it's a whole new experience. It's so cool. Like, there's so many secrets to be revealed. You know, that was all cut in with the gameplay. I didn't get 1 second of airtime in that video from mine. And it was so funny because we were watching the video and someone in chat goes, man, Jesse, I really hope you gave them open and honest feedback and you didn't just glaze up the game. And I was able to pause the video and be like, bitch, I did one of these interviews and mine didn't make the cut. So let that show you how I communicated with them.
Yeah, well, I mean, like that's also like, if they're doing it, that kind of thing largely for marketing material.
Of course.
Like,
I wasn't mad at all.
There's nothing less marketable than super valuable constructive feedback.
Exactly.
This is a problem because of this and this, but if you guys tweak this and then, it's like, you're not going to sell your game with that.
Exactly. And that's not to say the other 5 people that got interviewed just glazed up the game the whole time. Everybody was extremely critical. It was just funny that they couldn't find anything from my interview where I was just like, it's groundbreaking. It's so sick. Every answer was like, yeah, man, I totally see what you guys are doing here is really cool. But I really think like that was my answer to every question. So it was just funny. I wasn't mad at all that they didn't use my interview. The fact that my face at all was in a video that Bungie made and was showing to 300,000 people is cool enough. You know what I mean? I just thought it was friggin' funny. So
it's awesome.
So yeah, that's Marathon. I feel like you've gone through a bunch of games. I saw you playing Blueprints, which everyone's playing right now.
Yeah, I got through that. I finished it.
That's cool. People seem to be vibing with it.
Yeah, it's hard to like place exactly where I put it. So the gist of it's Blueprints. We talked about this.
Yeah, like the artist formerly known as Prince.
Yeah. But the title is a play on words for blueprint, right? Like the concept of like a home blueprint or whatever. And effectively what it is imagine a roguelike deck builder, except you're not building a deck, you're building a literal deck. No, but you're building a mansion, basically.
Yeah.
So it starts off and there's like this overarching narrative and story around like you're this young boy who's basically inherited this like mansion when like somebody in your family, I don't know, your uncle, your grandfather or whatever, died and basically like bequeathed it to you and effectively you get to own it when you get to sort of solve the mystery at the heart of this place. And it's all effectively built around like you walk in and there's just like this beautiful like foyer, right? That's just all marble. And there's a door in front of you, a door on your right, and a door on your left. And And the mansion, it's effectively like, I actually don't remember the dimensions. It's 5 wide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's 5 by 9.
Okay.
I mean, brother, I've been playing a few games lately that in the beginning, when they say like grab a notebook and a pencil and paper, I'm like, oh, talk dirty to me, because there's nothing more that I like than like just needing a pencil and paper. But so you start off like, imagine a grid that is 5 by 9.
Okay.
All the way at the bottom in the center is like the foyer. All the way at the center and the top, it just says antechamber.
Okay.
And everything in between is kind of just like this sort of empty, just like the dot, like it's just grid of empty spots. So you like walk up to the door, click on the door, and it basically pops down with 3 options.
Yep.
And it's like, there's the bedroom, there's the, dining room, there's whatever. And there's, I don't even know how many rooms, somewhere between like 100 and maybe 200 different individual rooms. Each of them has different elements to them. There's basically 3 real like currencies, I guess you could say, resources. You have like coins. They're basically just like gold coins. That's what you used to buy things, just like every other roguelike game. There's usually like a shop kind of thing. In this game, there's a number of things you can spend money on. There are gems. Those gems you use for a number of different things, but primarily it's like you pay to draft like special rooms.
Oh, okay.
And then there are keys, and the keys unlock locked doors.
Yep. Fair.
The further north you go, the more likely an adjacent door is to be locked.
Gotcha. Okay.
So like you kind of so there's that, and then the main primary resource is steps. So like, let's say I don't know the number, but you start off with like 50 steps, and what that means, it's not literal steps, but when you open up a room, let's say you draft a bedroom and you have the foyer and a bedroom.
Yeah.
You walk into the bedroom, it goes 49. You walk into the foyer, it goes 48. You walk into the bedroom, it goes 47. So every time you traverse a room, your timer's ticking down. And the roguelike element is when you run out of either places to go or steps, the day is over. You basically go out and like sleep in a tent, and then come back in the morning to a brand new empty foyer. So what you're trying to do is effectively solve the mysteries. You have like, it's kind of self-guided. You start to discover there's these little things that, like, oh, I want to do that, or oh, I want to try that, and I want to explore. And the RNG comes from the fact that at the beginning of every day, it's almost like it'll draw the cards in your deck, almost like Balatro with the random deck, where it's like,
okay,
it's just randomly, chosen from like a pool.
Yeah. With
obviously some reasonable distribution. They'll take some of these, some of these, and there's different room types, and they're all based on colors. So like green are like, it's like a patio and a garden, and like, those types of things. There are the shops, which are places you spend money. There are red rooms, and all the red rooms are basically, they come with some negative. Okay. So like one of them is just a gymnasium, and when you walk in, it cuts your footsteps in half. But like sometimes you're given the option of a thing with gems, a thing that costs gems, and a gymnasium, and you don't have any gems. So effectively what you need to do is figure out kind of what your overarching goal is for the day. And the real main primary like kind of strategy that comes from this is the rooms. Each room can have effectively 4 ways in or out, right? 4 doors. But every room type has its own kind of configuration. So there's one that's like a hallway, and that is a straight thing. So it like you walk in, and there's no doors on the left or the right, on the east or the west. So what you're doing is like, you know, like if you start off and you go left, you wouldn't want to draft a room that was like a right angle to the left because you would have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
If the door is against a wall or like a back end of an adjacent room without a door, then it's just like wooded, boarded up, like you can't go anywhere. So sometimes you'll draft like 6 or 7 rooms and you just like there's nowhere to go.
Yep.
There's no doors.
Yep.
Everything is either a dead end or like a closet. In a closet you open it up, there's nowhere to go. It just has items in it. So it's like, oh, there's a key, there's a couple of gems, whatever. And then there are a few rooms that have like puzzle boxes. One of them is you go in and there's always 3 puzzle boxes, a black box, a white box, and a blue box. And every time you go in, you're given, there's 1 key. And the way it works is each one has a statement on it.
Okay.
At least one of the 3 is true. At least one of the 3 is false. And there's gems in one of the boxes. So like you'll get something, the logic of this won't be sound, but it'll give you the gist of it's like one will say the blue box is empty. The blue box will say this box isn't empty. The black box will say the white box is false. So you kind of have to go like, fuck, like in what combination. And you find out like, oh, if this is true, then this is true, then that means this has to be false. And this says I'm empty. You open up the box, it's not empty because it was the false one.
Yeah.
So there's another one that is the billiard room. And the billiard room is, there's just a pool table and like a bar and whatever, but there's a dart board. And it's just like a normal dart board where you have like 19, 20, 1, 7, like the numbers around the edges.
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with darts. It's actually like a algebra puzzle.
Okay.
Where what it does is you're like looking at it and either one of the little slivers around like the ring or the little like kind of rectangular portions they're like lit up.
Okay.
And they're lit up in different colors and in like different positions. And basically you'll be looking at one and I'll say like, okay, you'll just see a bunch of things randomly sort of lit up and you'll look at it and it'll be meaningless to you. I'll look at it and go, okay, so 3 squared minus 7 plus 8 divided by 4, you click on a thing, you have to get it a bunch of times in a row, and then it opens up and usually you get keys or something as a reward. But so the strategy kind of comes from the push and pull between like you want to get to the antechamber. It's what you spend most of your time doing to get to this magical room to figure out like what the fuck, like what's in the room. There are all these little hints everywhere around. There's like because 9x5 is what, 45, right?
Yeah.
Around like the 46th room. Like, what is that? Where is it? And at some point, I remember it was like kind of mind blowing how you can draft if you're on like the west side. And there are kind of certain rules around like the west side is slightly less likely or more likely depending on some of the things you find.
Yeah.
There are things that you'll find that are always lying to you. And there are things that you find that are hints. Sometimes the hints are lies, and there's rules around all that you get contextually. And you'll be looking at something a million times as you go through a million rooms, and then like on day 40, you'll realize like this has been a puzzle in front of me the whole time that I didn't realize.
Dang, yeah.
I've been ignoring these things. I just thought it was flavor, but this means something.
Yeah.
But so I drafted a garage. The garage is because on the west side, right? The garage can open to the outside.
Yeah.
And if you're able to like draft a room that allows you to solve a puzzle to flip a circuit breaker and then get the key and then go back to the garage, you have enough steps, press the button, the garage door opens and it's like, there's an outside. And then there's like rivers and bridges and caves and it's like, oh, what the fuck? Like there's all this other shit. And it just gets a little bit more complicated and
dang.
It was a really interesting kind of story. I have to admit, after beating it, I'm not going to spoil anything, but after beating it, it's like I need to watch a Jacob Geller video on this because I kind of don't know what the fuck.
Yeah.
Like there might have been some kind of political thing in here. I'm not really sure. It's kind of a story. Like maybe someone got murdered, but I don't really know. It's it's a little bit confusing. I got through it. I mean, the vibe is great. The essence and the vibe, even if you don't like like me kind of understand the story. But even then, like I beat the game, and I think I probably experienced like 60% of it.
Because that's what I was going to ask. Is it like a Binding of Isaac type thing where you could just keep replaying the game forever and ever, or is it like once you figure it out, you work towards it till you beat it? Could maybe play it a couple more times, but it's not like.
So I think that I could. There was this kind of new game plus sort of element to it, where it's like the next time you walk in the day after, there's like a thing on the wall that is like a trophy list of challenges. And like I looked at them and was like one of the challenges was literally effectively beat the game in one day. And I don't know how that's even possible, because like you amass so much stuff that like I'll just say you're a lot more powerful on day 50 than you are on day 1.
Yeah.
Because there are permanent changes you can make where it's like, oh, you give yourself an allowance so that like you start the day with 10 coins and 5 keys.
Yeah.
You know, and like I needed that to win. So I don't know how the fuck you would do it on day 1. So there's a lot more playing you could do, but I do have to say that like it's a roguelike. For me, it was a roguelike until I beat it, and now I don't know that I'll ever play it again.
I understand,
except for like 8 or 9 years from now, when I forgot all about the game, I'll jump into it, and it'll be a fun, fresh new experience again.
Or if there's like an update and a reason to like come back and experience it. Yeah.
But like I just have no motivation to do any of the things. But I mean, as a standalone experience, it was totally great. A lot of people were asking, you know, like a lot of people seem to think that this is like game of the year. It should be on like, was it your top 5? To me, like it was a beautiful game. It was one of the most unique games.
Yeah.
I love the design. I love the style. Now that I think about it, at no point did I ever get like triggered by the game. Like at no point was it ever annoying.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was very well done.
Yeah.
The only time I ever got triggered is when I made a mistake where I was like, I shouldn't have walked into that room because now I can't make it back to the thing that I've been trying for 10 days to get like the fucking key in the battery to do the thing that I've been wanting to do. But
yeah,
cool, and it really does get more and more enjoyable because you are smarter with what you're doing.
For sure. That's like the point of a roguelite, is like the more you understand the game mechanics, the more you're like, I got you now. And that feels good.
Yeah. So anyway, the game is really cool.
That's awesome.
I wouldn't put it on I don't think I'd put it on top 10. It would be in my top 50 list, maybe. But not top 10. And like game of the year, I don't know. It's like April, dude.
There's some.
It's like it could be game of the year. That would mean this year would be a mega lackluster year.
And it's like, bro, you know GTA is winning game of the year, so it's like.
Well, I guess the question is whether or not it's like
your game of the year.
The popular meta definitely, obviously, will win game of the year game, or whether it's going to, you know, like whether it would be my game of the year, you know. So yeah.
Damn.
I would recommend it if you if you like a super chill vibe where every now and then there are some not mega complicated, you know, little math puzzles and little logic puzzles. It's not a puzzle game, I wouldn't say, but they're just puzzles around here and there, and the whole thing is just more of kind of a strategy.
That's cool. It makes a lot more sense. I clicked onto a lot of people. Bearkey was playing it. You were playing it. Northern Lion was playing it. So I'd pop in for a couple minutes and I would be like, I don't really know what's going on here. So now that, because I've seen the grid and the rooms, but then I was like, there's also a first person aspect to it. But now it kind of makes a lot more sense what I was watching.
Yeah, because it's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it?
Yeah. That's cool.
So yeah.
And now you're a kitty.
Now I'm a kitty. Yeah, I don't. I played another game, Cypher, for a couple of days. That was straight up like, it's not. It's a puzzle game, but it's not a puzzle game. It's like, do you know cryptography? The game. Like genuinely,
really?
Genuinely, I was reading about like fucking translation ciphers last night, like on the Wikipedia page, because they're real cryptography puzzles. Some of them are famous. and there's like 8 rooms, and I got through the first either 2 or 3 rooms, and then like it's a really simple game. It's just like this giant fucking cathedral, just all white walls, and you walk up and there's just like on the wall, it'll just be like JXYQ FFFQ FJJJJQ. And there's just a pedestal in front of you that you like enter a thing and like type in an answer.
What the frick?
But it teaches you about like real life ciphers. But you'd be interested in like in how the depth in which it can go. I gave up on it today because I walked into like the kind of bonus puzzle room and I was looking at it and I was like, this is like a college thesis on like, I mean, I spent 2, 3, 4 hours looking at just a grid of random characters trying to work out things, and it's really cool how some of these things can work, right? Like you could just make, if A was 1 and Z was 26, you just have a number that was like, you know, the solution to the puzzle could be the word solution, right?
Yeah.
And like whatever fucking S is S is the 19th letter, right? So it would be like 19, 15, 12, you know. So like if you, that's like a very simple mapping.
Yeah.
There are ones where it's like everything's shifted over by 1 letter.
Yeah.
There are others that they get really dank, where in one case you were looking at like a grid of boxes, and I'm spoiling a couple of them here. If you don't, you know, like
skip ahead,
tap out. I'm just only spoiling a couple of the simple ones in the beginning, but like one of them is like there's a grid of boxes, just black squares, except some of them have like the right top corner kind of cut off, like a little triangle missing, and some of them have the bottom left one cut off. And it's just like a 5x5 grid.
Okay.
And that's it. The only other context you have is that when at the beginning, the game says everything you need to solve the puzzles are in the room.
Okay.
So it's either understanding the basic concept and applying it however that is, or if there's like some outside knowledge, then it provides it. So you like walk in and it's like, here's this kind of puzzle, and it's step 2, you know, the translation kind of, you know, whatever, and it teaches you a little bit, and then you just go in and it gets kind of progressively harder and harder. So in this case, on the wall, there happened to be a thing that was Morse code, all the letters, you know, the dot, dot, dash, 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 dot, like, so the context you're supposed to, like the way you're supposed to think about this is to establish the domain you're working with is you would basically have an alphabet of square upper right cutoff, square lower left cutoff.
Yeah. I
have 3 things. What can I do with 3 things? Well, I know that, you know, and this is something that like if you were more familiar with these things, you wouldn't need the thing on the wall. You would just know that the language, the alphabet of Morse is dot dash silence.
Yeah.
So there's 3 different things. If I were to, so let's say the block, the full block is the silence, and the one with the upper right is the dash, and the lower left is the dot. Well, then you have dash dash dot 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 dot. You know, and then it ends up just being what's what was the fucking guy who invented Morse code? What was his name?
Samuel Morse.
So that puzzle was Samuel was the solution.
Oh, I made that name up, by the way, but that makes sense.
It's Samuel. It's Samuel Morse. You really just guessed? His name's Samuel. Wait, really? You just guessed? What the fuck?
I swear to God, I didn't even know Morse was a last name. I made that up.
Yeah, no, it's Samuel Morse.
I'm crashing out. What?
we were debating. I was debating with someone in the podcast Patreon about whether or not like fucking telepathy exists, and I think this is the most compelling proof it exists.
I swear to God, I did not even know Morse was a last name. I just was trying to make you laugh, dude.
No, yeah, Samuel Morse is the So the solution to the puzzle was Samuel.
Okay.
Now there's some other really cool like ciphers that I was looking at that are, I mean, they get really dank. They get really dank. So like imagine you had a strip of paper and you wrote a message on the strip of paper. Now imagine you had like just like a wooden dowel, right? Like just a cylinder, right? Imagine you took the strip and you like put it on and you wrap it around. That would give you almost like it would almost scramble up the letters.
Yeah.
Right? So like that's one particular kind of skytail, I think is what it's called. There are ones where it's like what you can do is like write out the message you want, and then you could like take every other letter and like move it down and shift it over every other letter. So like one of the ones, dude, it's so funny. I was looking at it for like 2 hours. Someone asked me like what the puzzle was or how you'd even solve it. And in me going through, like actually speaking it out, I solved it because I said a thing that was kind of intuitive to me, but I just hadn't gotten to yet. It was just a grid of letters.
Yeah.
Except in the grid of letters, there was like a random like XX, which is just like weird because in what English sentence would there be that many X's? Like there wouldn't be, right? So I thought, okay, well maybe the X's were like separators or delineators in some way. And I'm like, so one way in which you could do it is like you could start on the upper left and the upper right. You could start maybe in the middle, and like, I don't know, let's just say like could be that it was diagonal. And as I'm doing it, I was like, see, Dragon, dragon, like hide the J. Like, oh, I just solved it. Where it was like literally diagonal, and it was like, and the message was like, trust no one. They're coming for you. Hide the J dragon was like the puzzle.
Crazy, yeah.
So some really cool. It was really interesting, but it literally got to the point where it's like I would have to study to play. It's not a puzzle game for like amateurs. It's like this could be a course in fucking cryptography.
That's crazy.
So that was pretty neat. And then I think like one last thing, because there's obviously not really much time to talk about any of the other stuff.
Yeah.
But I was watching, dude, this just reminded me of every single like cheating discussion or cheating clip I've ever seen, where you see like the, Shroud put his crosshair on the head of the guy across the map.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, right? Where it's like, could it have been a coincidence, whatever. I was watching, I was just scrolling through YouTube shorts, and it came across a thing that was like, if this was in a video game, this person would be called a cheater, canceled for cheating. It was literally a baseball game, a super high pop-up, like almost it got close to being a home run, and it was a really sunny day, and the guy he couldn't see anything, and he was literally like, I can't see, and the ball landed in his glove. He was like running, was like this, was like, oh, what the fuck? And she's like, bloop. And I'm like, if that can happen in real life, you're gonna have a crosshair that's gonna intersect with someone's body through a wall.
That's crazy. I thought you were gonna say he was like covering his eyes and caught it, but the fact that he's just like, guys, where is it? It lands in his hand.
Yeah. So I just saw that, and I was just like, all I can think of was, like in any other scenario, that would have been seen as like cheating.
Yeah.
But we know, we don't need to check him PC to know that guy, he didn't have auto aim on his glove.
He didn't have like baseball magnet in his glove. Yeah. That's so funny. That is the IRL equivalent to like you know, like shooting a random bullet to scare your friend, but then like killing someone on the other side of the map and then having to prove like you weren't cheating. Like,
Yeah.
that's wild. That's actually hilarious.
Yeah, and I think
man.
I think the only other thing too is the Black Mirror new season came out.
I watched the first episode last night.
I watched the first 2.5 episodes.
Okay.
Which one's the first one? It wasn't the cooking related one. It was
The first one was the subscription based freaking consciousness one, bro.
I've never been so dude. I felt like I was on a customer service call with Verizon or Comcast the entire time I was watching that.
Yeah. It was interesting.
It was very painful and very
Yep.
But the second one also invoked some like I felt like Twitter vibes in a way that you wouldn't. The whole episode's been just about gaslighting in the most ultimate cosmic sense.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'll probably watch it tonight.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see.
Yep, that's cool.
But like, for some reason now, it's like actually stressing me out. Like, I watch these things and it's like, what I loved Black Mirror in a different way before than I do now.
Yeah.
I think my brain is just like fucking fried.
Yeah, your
dude.
brain
like,
is just getting like freaking zapped with how much of the type of internet you're consuming for this video.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well, that is the stuff. Thank you guys. Thank you guys as always for hanging. Thank you guys for the support. If you're interested in more discussions, even more podcasts, you can go to patreon.com/thepodcastpod, get early ad-free access to these episodes, and get additional episodes that we record just for the patrons over there. It's pretty lit. Thank you again to Turtle Beach for sponsoring this episode, and thank you guys for hanging. We will definitely see y'all on the next one.
Peace.